Hi, I'm Vetan, and today I'm going to show you how to craft your team's mini manifesto, the second activity in the foundation sprint from Knapp and John Zeratsky's book, Click. When you think about your solution, ask yourself, do your customers see you as just another apple? A slightly more yellow apple? Or something entirely different, like an orange? Before you write your business case, you need to know exactly how you stand out. The mini manifesto is your chance to capture that unique angle. It's a clear, punchy statement that defines what makes your solution truly valuable and uniquely yours. New to Foundation Sprint? Check out what is a Foundation Sprint video and also day one aligning on the basics before jumping in. All these lessons are connected and they build on each other. Let's face it, even if you build the best solution in the world, customers won't care unless they see a compelling reason to switch from what they're doing right now. Change is hard. It takes time, effort, and sometimes money. Your job to make that leap irresistible. This next activity, it's all about pinpointing those irresistible reasons by finding the sweet spot between what customers need and what only you can deliver. And we'll capture it in a mini manifesto worksheet that acts as your North Star. Block out 3 hours for this one. Yes, it's a bit of a brain work, but it's worth it. Also, there's a break built in as your team will need it. But don't worry, you will start easy. You will start with realistic optimism. First, you need to imagine that your solution is finished. It's live and customers are talking about it. Imagine them comparing it to your competitors and thinking, this is a no brainer. What do they see? What makes them say, this is exactly what I need? Based on what did the customer evaluate your solution? What were their criteria? Is your solution faster? Is it easier? Is it free? Is it simpler? Is it integrated to their current system? Is it automatic? Is it smarter? These are typical dimensions customers use to evaluate solutions. So Jake Knapp calls these the classics. And you guessed it. The magic happens when your solution lands on that side of the spectrum where your customers find value. In this lesson, we will learn how to find the best differentiators for your challenge, those that sit at the intersection of what is super valuable for your customers and what you can uniquely deliver. I'll walk you through this activity using our Miro board template, and you can find the link in the description below. In the step one of the workshop, each team member will spend 5 minutes reflecting on where their solution stands compared to the competition. And yes, we're revisiting those competitors we just defined in the basics. Using the Miro alignment scales, everyone clicks along the spectrums to show how they see their solution stacking up. They vote this way quietly, individually, thinking not only about where the solution stands today, but imagining how it would be in the future if they execute their solution well. If we go back to the example used in this course, the data and analytics team from a multinational company, they imagined building a simple online tool that gathers the key information about data privacy in one place for their target customers, data protection and security professionals handling business requests, with the challenge of needing to research multiple sources for accurate information. We can see the competitors being Thomson Reuters and conversation with colleagues for advice. Their solution, compared side by side with those competitors, stood out on key spectrums like speed, integration, automation, and intelligence. So now grab your team, set a timer, and ask everyone to place their best bet. Guess what? The classics are a great start, but they won't always capture what makes your solution stand out. Now it's time to go deeper, to define the differentiators that matter most to your customers and expose the competition's weaknesses. Here's how it works. In step two, Each team member works alone in silence to create their own custom scales that highlight unique competitive advantage. On the Miro board, you'll find a sticky note with an empty label where you can put your team's names and three empty scales next to it. Everyone in the team will have the task to fill in the blanks with strategic differentiators that showcase your solution unique edge. The data and analytics team from our case study created new differentiation spectrums based on what matters most for their customers. So here's what they came up with. Let's look at team. He imagined the solution could go as a premium solution and not necessarily address the mass markets, and he called this pairing exclusivity. Then he thought of the fact that competitors often force customers into predefined workflows that don't flex to unique needs. What if you could allow customers to configure their dashboards, alerts, risk models? So here we have rigid versus adaptive under flexibility. Or he thought that many platforms treat all organizations the same, providing broad compliance data that lacks specific relevance. What if you could enable context aware insights tailored to each company's requirements? So here we have generic versus personalized. Ina, on the other side, she thought of foresight, pairing reactive versus predictive. Or let's take a look at Anton. That is interesting. He thought about efficiency, pairing manual versus AI enhanced. He knew that teams spend too much time on manual research, compliance tracking. What if you could shift from manual, labor intensive processes to AI enhanced automation? And here we have it. Basically, each team member created their own pairings and thought of different dimensions. Okay, so now you've seen the example from the data and analytics team. It's time to ask your team to take 5 minutes and think about their own differentiators. After creating your custom good versus crummy pairings, it's time for silent voting. Tell teams to add their avatar on each scale to show where they believe the solution could land when it's at its best and where they think the competition or status quo sits. It's okay if some dots end up on the wrong side of the spectrum. This step is about finding the differentiators where you truly stand out, and not every idea will work. Once voting is complete, you'll review all the scales together, discuss any surprises or patterns, and refine your differentiators. In step 4, the decider will pick the top two differentiators that make you stand out. This will become the backbone of your mini manifesto. How it works: the decider looks at good versus crummy scales and thinks which of those seems most powerful or are likely to set us apart. Decider picks two pairings that best balance customer value. Do they solve a real pressing need? And unique capability. Can we realistically deliver this better than anyone else? They look at the empty 2 by 2 matrix and fill it out. On the horizontal axis, they could have slow versus fast, and on the vertical, they can use a different pairing. In our case study, the decider team, director of strategy and business development, picked efficiency, where the good thing is AI enhanced, as it automates insights, reducing manual research efforts. And on the horizontal axis, relevance, where the good things are personalized solutions that adapt to industry, to company size, risk appetite, and specific needs. And then label their crummy opposites: generic and manual. Next up, refine and iterate your differentiators. You've identified your top two differentiators by now, but don't treat them like they are set in stone. You might realize after mapping competitors or testing assumptions that you're only marginally better than the status quo. And if you are only 2% instead ahead, it's often not enough to compel customer to switch. Your goal: make choosing your solution a no-brainer. How it works: in step 5, on your 2 by 2 matrix, place competitors and substitutes. You should ideally land in the top right quadrant alone and see your competitors elsewhere. If your solution doesn't stand out dramatically, revisit your pairings. Could you choose a stronger angle that customers care about? Discuss as a team and ask, do these differentiators genuinely set us apart? If you're still bunched up near the competition, consider trying bolder or more extreme pairings. Let's go back to our case study and see what the data and analytics team did. Initially, they picked AI enhanced versus manual and personalized versus generic, but realized it wasn't sufficiently different from current competitor offerings. After some debate, they settled on proactive versus reactive, highlighting their product ability to predict threats, not just respond to them. Welcome back to the last activity of the day: principles. Principles are short, actionable statements that guide your day to day decisions. They keep your team anchored to what makes your product unique and valuable, preventing you from sliding back into a generic or me too solutions. In Click, Jake Knapp shows how Google's 10 things we found to be true, especially focus on the user and fast is better than slow, provided concrete decision making criteria at every level, from engineers to executives. People could lean on these principles to stay on track. Your team's principles should do the same for you. When you face trade offs or disagreements, these statements become your North Star, reminding you on the exact value and experience you promised to deliver. You've already identified two differentiators, the good versus cramming pairs that matter most to your users and set you apart from competition. So you will ask your team to spend a few quiet minutes writing their principles. A good prompting question here is, what advice would you give to a new team member or to your future self to make sure you fully deliver on this differentiator? Write two principles to reinforce each differentiator. And lastly, add one safeguard principle to prevent unintended consequences. Think about what could go wrong if your product really takes off or if you push your differentiators too far. At this stage, it's a good idea to show people some bad examples, like this one. Always be innovative. It's too abstract, it's too vague, and it doesn't translate into concrete actions. No one knows which specific decisions to make. Treat everyone with respect. It's good for HR, but not specific enough for building this product. Facilitate synergetic value creation for a delightful user centric paradigm. It sounds impressive, but it's bloated and unclear. Then you will write each team member's name and give them quiet time to think, and also show them the empty sticky notes on the board where they can write down their principles. Now let's go check on the data and analytics team and see what principles they came up with. If you remember, one of their differentiators was proactive versus reactive, and here they came up with principles like make the invisible visible, anticipate risk, don't chase it, spot the storms before it hits, guide, don't just warn, red flags before red tape. Looking at the second principle, personalized versus one size fits all, principles like tailor every insight, one size fits none, recognize patterns, respect nuances, give confidence, not clutter. And safeguard principles, empower, don't overwhelm. Automation is good, but final say it's human. Explain, don't just deform, no black boxes, up to date or useless. Zero tolerance for compliance errors. So, those are some principles the team came up with. Now, going back to your team, which just finished brainstorming principles, give everyone three dots and ask them to take a few minutes to quietly review all principles on the board. They can place their dots across all participants' ideas and focus on the ones they believe will be most helpful and most relevant for guiding this project. Then, as a group, quickly discuss the top voted principles. Focus on questions like, is this actionable enough, or will this differentiate us from competitors? Let's look again at our data analytics team. Once the team voting ended, team, the decider, chooses two principles plus one safeguard. When you do this with your team, of course, you can tweak them to make them sound just right, but do avoid lengthy debates over paraphrasing. Done is better than perfect in this case. By the end of this step, you'll have three concise project specific principles. Our data analytics team selected guide, don't just warn for the proactive differentiator, tailor every insight for the personalized versus one size fits all differentiator, and up to date or useless for the safeguard. Going back to you as a facilitator, wrap this session by opening your mini manifesto frame. Copy and paste your differentiators and your final three principles right there. Congratulations on wrapping up day one. You've tackled a ton of heavy lifting, clarifying differentiators, crafting a 2 by 2 to visualize your unique value, and of course, coming up with principles to keep your team on track. When you're ready, dive into day two of the Foundation Sprint Workshop. There's a full video and additional resources in the playlist that basically build on what you've done so far. Thanks for joining today's lesson. If you missed any earlier sessions or want to revisit a step, simply go back to the Foundation Sprint playlist. Each lesson builds on the last. Also, check out the Design Sprint Academy website for free resources, templates, and team trainings on problem framing and design sprints. See you in the next lesson, day two, one-page summaries.